time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome new show this week. All kind of stuff going on. And this, even though it's the holidays, our team's been absolutely crushing it, doubling down, and doing the same thing we do every year, is continuing on through the holidays, pushing hard. But it's very interesting right now what's happening, where usually it's very, very sleepy. We had big news last week. We talked about in the show, interest rates had the biggest 48-hour drop in the history of tracking. So it kind of jumped a whole lot of buyers back in the game. And the numbers shot up. And so we'll talk about that today, what's happening, what to expect. I'm hoping and thinking we'll probably see a fantastic January if it kind of continues on. But if you're thinking about selling, you probably want to get your stuff in order a little earlier than later this year. We'll talk about that, kind of what's going on. Rates did hop up a little bit, but not too much. We'll talk about what's happening there overall with that. We also go over some tips on getting your house ready to sell in this winter market. Just some simple things that are able to get a little more value, and we'll talk about what those things are and things that we walk our clients through if they want to. And then we also have people that can help them with that if needed. We have the brand new market numbers in from last month. We talked about that, and they actually did better than we thought they would in terms of what's happening. Prices were up year over year in November versus November. We'll talk about that, up double digits, and that was very surprising. Again, that's in certain pockets. We talked last week on last week's show about the micro market. You saw where some areas were down as much as 30%. Some areas were up, 30% too. So it was very interesting. And it's obviously going to be a case-by-case basis, a micro market versus micro market basis. We'll talk about that overall. And that's good news on the heels of what we talked about a couple weeks ago. We didn't really get on the show. We mentioned it where national pending sales had dropped the lowest since they started being tracked in 2001, even worse than the financial crisis. And so up until the recent rate news last week, the real estate market was at an absolute crawl. Now we're seeing that heat back up again. It's very interesting the timing that's happening, because usually, especially between Christmas, New Year's, that area typically very, very, very slow. So we'll talk about that. Like I mentioned, if you're thinking about selling in the first of the year, now's the time to get a plan together. We'll talk about that today. We have some amazing success stories. Like I mentioned, as many agents have been taking the last month or two off, we've been pushing hard, doubling down, working very, very hard for our clients. We're even working through the holidays here. So if you need anything at all, have any questions or needs, reach out, call myself, my team, because we're always hustling for sure. We also have, just a reminder, we have an investment fund that I run that's got millions of dollars in it, and we're looking to buy more properties for cash, instant offer. So basically, it's a no hassle offer that's fair. You sell it as is, and you're able to close in as fast or as long that works out for you. So we just had one we bought just 2 weeks ago. They're buying in Florida. They did a little bit longer closing date. They wanted the upfront guarantee, a very, very fair price, and did that for them, and they loved it. And also, we're adding to our team this year for 2024, ramping back up. Like I mentioned, as the market has slowed down, we have not cut one single dollar in advertising. We continue to expand that, actually, and double down on that. And so we're looking to add. We have a real estate scholarship we're offering through our real estate school that we own, that if you're thinking about getting a real estate, you've been kind of contemplating it, if you love people, if you like to serve at a high level, if you like to win in terms of how you operate every single day, reach out to us. We have this thing. Go to sloanscholarship.com and free real estate scholarship, where we'll pay your full ride for real estate school. So lots of great stuff we'll talk about in today's show.
All right, lots of stuff to get to. If you're just tuning in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Friends with Morning Show. You heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaBatz. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing, but the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and like I mentioned every week, I made a promise to myself, just in watching so many horror stories and people who listen to the show and they'll call us with the horror story afterwards, like, man, we got to make sure we talk about this every week. And it's the most important thing that I could even say, like way more important than any detail about how to, get your house ready to sell. Like, here's the deal. Like, people make this massive mistake. I don't care how affluent they are, how many degrees they have, how many properties they sold, how much money they make. They still make the same mistake over and over and over. And I see it every single day. And the mistake they make is thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth. Just like any doctor, any lawyer charged with a crime you didn't commit, the last thing you want is a part-time attorney who just got their law license, who's tried a few cases, right? You want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who has experience in that type of law, who can help you and give you a competitive advantage in the courtroom or through litigation, because you owe it to yourself, right? And you should demand that same level of excellence when you're dealing with your largest asset. And so I say it over and over and over, the single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes into one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Not the wall color, not the time of year you list it. It comes down to the agent. Just like every single story I just talk about over and over, but like you go to a restaurant, right? The restaurant through the holiday season here. Sometimes you have a fantastic experience. Sometimes you have a terrible experience. You can be at the same exact restaurant, have a fantastic experience and a terrible experience. The difference is the people, right? It's a service-based business. Most people don't realize real estate's a service-based business, but it's a much longer sales cycle than just having dinner, right? There's a lot more things that can be screwed up. So imagine having a sales cycle of 2 or 3 months of having to have dinner by that same server. And that's what you're dealing with when you're talking about some of these agents who drop the ball. Most people don't realize, if you do the mathematics of it, the average agent in our marketplace sells roughly 4 homes per year. That's 1 home per quarter. There's not a whole lot of money for them to eat with, much less spending marketing dollars on your behalf. And here's the deal. They're going to throw you under the bus in 2 seconds to try to get the deal done, because they're just trying to pay their rent next month or trying to eat and put food on the table. And we see this over and over and over. Not only that, if you look at the actual logistics of it, right, there's so many nuances, the ins and outs of when you're selling a property, you're buying a property. If you're doing 1 per quarter, you're not very in tune with what's happening. You're just surviving, right? And that's what you see most agents do, is that 3 Ps. They promise you the world to get the listing. Number 2, they put it into MLS. And 3, they pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're on the street trying to get the next listing. It's just how the place of the marketplace has been for decades and decades, probably 100 plus years. And how I saw it when I grew up. My whole family sold real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma. I've been in this for right at 20 years, and I've seen the same thing. And that's why we sought out and really said, hey, let's do something different. How do we look and see what people do in real businesses outside of real estate and bring that into real estate and help make sure that we can manage all these variables? Because, like, man, this is a lot for one person to do on one listing, much less 10 or 20 listings. And so what you find is, if you go to these big box stores or agencies, I started out at Coldwell Banker, then I was at Remax, and all of them, the only difference with really any real estate company is one thing. And the thing is how they pay their agents. That's about it, right? Except for how we do things. We have a team model that's a team within a broker. So everybody's a specialist in what they do. But when I was at Coldwell Banker, it was me and 200 agents. They didn't care about me. I didn't care about them. And so in essence, it was actually the opposite effect, where if I got a new listing, the ones around me were pissed because they wanted that listing. And I've even had many cases where I would say a phone number over the cubicle and they heard it and called that person on my back. And so there wasn't any alignment in terms of how the organization was set up. And so that was why it didn't provide any benefit to the actual client. And so I sought out, so how do you have an organization that's in alignment where everyone does what they're very good at, which is a team of specialists, where when we were at Coldwell Banker and Remax, we were just generalists. We were just 1 or 2 people, my mom initially, trying to do everything and juggle all the balls, which we found out very quickly was just about impossible to do and have good service. And so that's why I looked and said, hey, look, what do they do outside of real estate? Hired coaches and mentors, people outside of real estate industry, and said, hey, look, how do we take your expertise, bring that to the real estate, and create a predictable result every single time? And that's what we did. I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system to sell them twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. And it's literally something we can show you line by line by line, and you can do the math together. Like, this is what we do to get this percent. This is what we do to get this percent. And anybody we sit down with, it absolutely blows their mind. And if you compare that to what 90% of agents are doing out there, they're just throwing MLS, taking some photos, usually on their cell phone. And so that was working for most agents when the market was super hot, what we call a frenzy. Now that market's slowed down almost to a crawl. And that's why you're seeing so many properties that aren't selling. They're sitting in the market for 6 months. It's very frustrating for home sellers. I like this type of market because now you actually have to be good. And so that's one thing that is very, very good for us, because we have systems and processes and experts who do this and sell 100 plus homes in what they do every single year. And that's just our top 2 listing experts. Like, we're able to do so and deliver at a very high level because we have a team of specialists. We back it up with 2 main things: a team of people. Each person specializes in what they do. We have inside sales, we have outside sales, we have a listing specialist, buyer specialist, we have closing coordinator, listing coordinator, you have a photographer, videographer, also graphic design. So everything can be handled in-house and managed, where I can control those variables and I can get a better outcome for myself and also the client. And so that's how we're able to win. And what it does is that advantage gives me a disadvantage in the marketplace where I can outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. Why that is we'll go over in a minute where we have massive amounts of buyers. We'll talk about how many buyer leads we have that are active buyers. We spend basically tens of $1,000s a month. Like right now, we have 74,000 plus active buyer leads that we can match up with your property instantly with our sales team and our technology. Where if I was a single agent by myself, spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month in just basic advertising for buyers out there, I couldn't keep up with those leads. There's not enough time in the day to follow up with them. But with us, right, we have 25 to 30 buyers experts, inside sales team, outside sales team. They're able to follow back up and match up buyers and sellers, which gets a much more aggressive really stance to get property sold. And that's how we're able to get them sold faster for more money. And so I share that on the show because you owe it to yourself to at least investigate it and see the difference. What I find over and over and over, no matter how affluent they are, they'll spend 20, 30 years building their hard-earned equity, paying payment after payment after payment, and 15 minutes picking an agent. And the crazy part is if you ask them, hey, look, how'd you pick your agent? They have no real criteria. They have no, they're just nice or they liked them. Or we just had one yesterday that reached out to us and they had been listed for like 4 or 5 months. Came to us, we looked that up and say, hey, how'd you find your agent? They referred to us, cool. Looked up, the agent had sold one house in history ever the entire career. Right. And so they were trying to buy a house in North Carolina. They were freaking out because they couldn't get the one in North Carolina because their one here hasn't sold. We obviously couldn't help them because it was still listed with somebody else. But the reality is you see this over and over and over. And this person is gambling with their largest asset that they literally own with someone who's only sold one in their entire career. And here's the crazy part. The one they sold wasn't even in the last 12 months. Now, here's the thing. The reason I say that is because most consumers don't know to ask the right question to even uncover that. They just think everybody's the same. And so I want you to take anything from this show. If you take someone who's like, look, investigate, learn more, you owe it to yourself when you're talking about your largest asset to have a true expert who can guide you through those nuances and ins and outs, because all those small details add up to a lot of extra money to your hard-earned equity that you can keep at the closing table. And so if you want to know more that works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. We'll take a quick break, right back in a sec with a market update.
Here, the real estate market is constantly changing. Now, here to give us more insight into this is my friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, I know certain programs make it a lot easier for the seller. Which ones do you offer?
Hey, Sean. In addition to our traditional program that sells your home for top dollar, we have an instant offer, a multi-offer, and a guaranteed offer program. I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars who are looking to buy homes in the Grand Strand right now.
And what kind of return can you expect from them?
Here's what I'll say. Every seller's needs are different. Some need maximum convenience, and we deliver that every single time. Some need the most amount of money, and we have a program for that as well. We have a trademark program that nets sellers up to 5 to 10% more money than traditional industry methods.
All right, great insight, and thank you for this update. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com. And
Hi,
consider
I'm
your
Myrtle.
home sold.
I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, we can agree to sell it by a certain date, pay cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
We use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Market update, all kind of stuff going on right now. We'll talk about like what to look for here. Interesting numbers. So we have two types of numbers we talk about in the show every single week, and they're very important because one's like real-time numbers and one are what we call the rear view mirror numbers. They're the ones that closed this past month. The problem is if they closed this last month, for example, in November, they went under contract really in September, October. And so they closed 30 to 60 days after it goes under contract. And so if I'm making decisions based on data that's 60 days old, sometimes it's not going to be the most accurate, right? So we'll talk about two types of that. Really quick, looking at the single family rear view mirror numbers, we'll do this first. The ones that closed last month in November, it actually did very well compared to what we thought. So it's pretty much flat. It's down 0.8%, only 3 transactions. So if you go to November last year, there were single family resale homes. There was 380 properties that closed. This year, 377. And that actually blew my mind because we saw very, very slow coming up to that. I think we may see December take a little bit of a hit, but it's going to hopefully bounce back as rates have come back down. just this last week. But here's the crazy part: average price up 5.2%. So it compares November versus November. November last year was a little bit low for some reason, but overall right now it's up 5.2% at 380,000. Average sale price was shocking. Really, it's up 16.4%. It's 517,584. Very, very interesting numbers. If you go back to just October, the average sale price 468. It jumped up to 517 just in one single month. So from 468 to 517, which is huge numbers there, which is really interesting, right? You see a lot of properties in the market getting price reduction, certain things, but the ones that are selling compared to last year, November, it's very, very interesting overall in terms of that. So if you look at last November, prices average out at 444, 830, and then it jumped back up this year between March and April at 496. And right now we just hit a new all-time high last month ever in the history of Myrtle Beach, right at 517,000. So, and again, that's very nuanced, right? Most of the properties, what you're seeing in the market, if you just watch any active properties, you are seeing some price reductions because a lot of sellers were trying to get, 2022 prices, 2021 prices, where it was a frenzy, getting multiple offers, and that has slowed a little bit. But it's interesting to kind of see overall. The one thing that's really helped that has been inventory. Inventory is still very, very, very low. It's a super seller's market still in terms of numbers. Right now, only 3.5 months of inventory. Anything less than 6 months of inventory, meaning it's a hypothetical equation, meaning if there wasn't one single house listed, how long would it take at the current run rate to run through all of those? And that's just a equation the entire marketplace uses. It would take 3.5 months. And so that's great news for home sellers. That's what's helping protect price. So even though sales are not near as much as they were mostly through the entire last year, what's happened is the overall price has been held tight because inventory is still very, very low. We are seeing significant decline in a lot of showings overall, just because there's less traffic. Right now, the average showing is getting 3.5 showings per listing, which is down significantly from last year. But here's the crazy part. The amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 13.3. And so this is what we use for numbers like this. So if your listing is on the market, it's only getting 3 showings, right? That means you don't get enough traffic or enough eyeballs for the buyers to be able to see your property to want to look at it. So that could be price, could be marketing. A lot of times it comes down to marketing quality, the order of the photos, the quality of photos. Like there's just all these nuances that people don't understand numbers. And here's the deal: if I'm selling 4 houses a year, I don't really understand those things. But if you sell, 800 homes a year like we've done, you find out these small nuances, and you're slowly, all the time, really moving the needle, and you're adjusting the knob, so to speak, on what's working, what's not working. Like I saw one yesterday that wasn't selling. The person that reached out, it didn't sell. And look at it, and the first photo is the outside of the house. The second photo, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, there was 5 photos in a row of just the kitchen, almost identical. And so what happens is buyers don't want to go through all that. They see the second, third, they just move on because they search houses by elimination. So pictures 2, 3, and 4 psychologically have to sell them by looking at the rest of the photos. Most people don't realize that, and that's a small nuance that makes or breaks a home sale, because you can increase traffic almost 5-10% based on the quality of photos, the order of the photos, and those are just small details that make a big difference. And that's a side note, but just want to kind of share that example there. But I noticed that if you talk about from a business standpoint, if I know that the average listing on the MLS right now is getting 3.5 showings per listing, but the average amount of showings it takes to get an offer is 13.3. Well, obviously I use that and I say I got increased buyer traffic in terms of my advertising to make sure I can hit those numbers. And so that's just simple stuff you see, but that's just what a lot of problems people are seeing. So if your house has been on the market, you understand the problem there, and you're not getting enough traffic, that may be the problem in terms of why it's not selling. So other numbers we'll talk about: the overall front windshield numbers. Those are numbers that how many properties went pending in the last 7 days. We track this every morning in my office, every single day. Have a spreadsheet we go through. If you look at last week's show, in the 7 days prior to the show, there was 378 properties under contract for $166 million. So this week is actually up a little bit in a week that shouldn't be, right? You got the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, and what's happening is usually it's kind of super dead. But the numbers actually went up. It went from 378 to 394 because rates did come back down. A lot of buyers who on the sidelines jumped back in quickly. Overall, we had a huge spurt in our office with buyers who've been waiting and thinking back. A lot of buyers found out they could qualify for much more now that rates dropped, and also they were able to basically just pull the trigger as the numbers looked a little better for their monthly payment. Volume, they did 138,877,000. So volume was down a little bit. Properties over $1 million. There are 6 properties over $1 million that sold, went under contract last 7 days. 60 properties over 500,000. And inventory online has been going down, which is crazy. If you look back just about 6 weeks ago, there's 1,000 houses. We hit the 1,000 house mark on the MLS, and there's 1,000 houses in Horry County that were single family resales for sale. Now we're back down to 959 because we have seen that little spurt come back and people have been holding off for the holidays. And that's why it's really a good time as inventory is a little low. Someone pulled their house off for the holidays. And so if you're thinking about selling, you want to probably take some action sooner rather than later because there's so many buyers and waiting on the sidelines for the past 3 to 4 months as rates got up to 8%. If you think about it, for a second home or a DSCR loan, which is like an investment property, they were 10% plus in some cases. And so as they come back down, you're seeing many buyers pull the trigger and look to buy something ASAP. And so if you're thinking about selling this first of the year, reach out to me now and say, look, let's get the house in order. Let's get a plan together, get some photos, get some things together, at least have a plan so you can pull the trigger quickly and you'll be the first kind of on market the first of the year when all these buyers have been waiting for their first year come on market. And that's one thing. You don't want to wait to the first and then call me and then or call the agent or call us and then you got to wait to get the photos and it takes a couple of days and it takes you a couple of days to get your house ready. Like get that ready now, get that in order, and all of a sudden, boom, you can take it active the first week of the new year and you're able to get traffic ASAP. And so that's just kind of a quick tip there overall with that. But numbers overall looking good. One thing driving that has been interest rates. We talked about last week's show. We had the biggest 48-hour drop since it's been tracked, and that started in 2007. Last week's show, rates went down to 6.62. Whether in the mid sevens before that. This week only up slightly. Today it's 6.66. So not a big jump there. Thankfully, it's been flat, pretty quiet week, thankfully, interest rates. But it's so nice to see all those pretty much in the 6%, except a jumbo loan. Right now, 30-year fixed rate, 6.66%. A 15-year fixed rate, 6.06%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 7.01%. A 5-year ARM, adjust rate mortgage, 6.16%. An FHA loan right now for 30 years is 6.12. A 30-year VA loan, 6.13% overall. And so that's something, as this has got back in the sixes, so many buyers are just waiting for that. We had so many people happy to see that because their payments now make sense and they're jumping back in. So if you're thinking about selling, reach out, call me. Don't wait too late. We're hustling during the holidays. At least get a date in the calendar. We can kind of set something up, get a plan in place, or at least answer any questions you may have about timing. Reach out, call me anytime, 843-808, sort of BlakeSloan.com. Take a quick break, right back in a second.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at
Perfect, thank you.
you agreed to or a buy himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and
Oh,
how
wow.
much you can
Okay.
pay your next home without worrying about getting stuck with two mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome stuff. We got hot bars alert right now. All kind of stuff going on right now. We talked about this kind of earlier. Is one thing that we do is we put our money where our mouth is. The average agent out there, spends very little money in marketing. You try to just operate in their sphere. They basically take your listing, put it MLS, and just hope someone sells it. Here we have a much different business model. We outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And a lot of that spending is online, driving traffic online from buyers all across the globe. And we get thousands and thousands of buyer leads pretty much every single month. And our team is making phone calls to those. And so right now, and here's the reason we share that, because we have hot buyers looking to buy properties here, really on the Grand Strand, here from $250,000 to $4.3 million. So if you're thinking about selling, reach out, call us 843-808-SOLD. It's 843-808. So one thing makes us a lot different is we have this thing called buyers in waiting. And so we have these buyers right now, active buyers with a username, password account that are searching our site actively. 74,618 active buyers. Again, 74,618 active buyers. And so those people have a username, password account, and they're from all over, right? They're searching the site every single day in most cases, sometimes multiple times a day. Like right now, I got Kenneth from, I can't even say it, Alcopa, PA. I got Nick from Quebec, Canada. I got Yvonne from Garden, North Carolina, Norcross, Georgia, Mesa, Arizona, Simpsonville, South Carolina, Amherst, New Hampshire, Scranton, PA, Bolivia, North Carolina, Dearborn, Michigan, Boston, Massachusetts, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Lakewood, New Jersey, Asheville, North Carolina, all over the place. Carson City, Nevada. So we see lots of traffic because we spend so much money. And so the main advantage we have there is we have this thing called buyers in waiting, where we take any new listing we get. I'm in business to make money, right? So if we're obviously able to get both sides of that commission, it's more profitable for us. And so that's also what the seller hired us to do, is to actually sell the property, right? And so first thing we do is we take it. We have this software that's proprietary that we help kind of design, and it reverse engineers the most likely buyer for that property based on their previous search patterns. And it's exactly what they wanted, which is super cool. And so one thing we're able to do is we hit this button, and it'll reverse engineer and score the buyer on a scale of 100 who the best match is. And what happens is our team gets on the phone and starts making dials. The coolest part, we have almost 30 buyers experts plus inside sales team who's able to make sure they can follow back up and match up buyers and sellers. And here's the coolest part. I mentioned our team is still grinding through the holidays, where a lot of agents have been taken off. And so, like, if I look at our team, I have the tracker, it tracks dials, how many phone calls you made in the last 7 days. As of right now, our team has made 15,078 dials out to those buyers that we have in our system, matching them up. And so inside sales got Roger 1,401 dials, Chris Wilkinson, our team 1,316 dials. All these people are making dials, and they're matching up buyers and sellers. And this is a time when most agents are taking off, and we average usually 16,000 calls a week, and a couple people out of town. But right now, 15,078 dials. So if you want somebody who's going to hustle and push and work hard and not just let your property sit in MLS, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. We're so much different here. And we sit down and show those people, it absolutely blows their mind, because we're here to hustle, right? We're here to win. We love what we do, and we work very, very hard to do so, which is why we're the number one real estate team in Myrtle Beach, number 56 in the country. Because of that, even being a small market. So really quick, just want to give a couple awesome quick success stories. Janet, she was trying to sell her home in Carolina Forest for 6 months. She was trying to move back to New Jersey to be close to family, but was stuck. A realtor that was referred to her listed it, only had 2 showings and no offers. Thankfully, though, a listener of this radio station told Janet to call Blake Sloan, us. She did. We came, identify the problem immediately, which was marketing. Designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough. They had 6 showings and 1 offer the first week. It just got that closed. Now Janet's able to be back in New Jersey with her family for the holidays with maximum equity in her pocket. And that's what I was talking about in terms of the agent matters in that scenario. Also, Brent and Katie, they own an oceanfront condo in Myrtle Beach. They recently came across an incredible opportunity to invest in a property where they lived in Minnesota, but needed to sell their condo in Myrtle Beach first to make the deal happen. They needed it sold ASAP. They also needed top dollar to make it work, and they didn't want to miss out on that deal. Brent started doing a lot of research online for top realtors in Myrtle Beach. They spoke with us, called us. We shared exactly. We had hundreds of buyers looking for a condo just like theirs, and we actually showed them online. After speaking with a few realtors, it was obvious to Brent that we were the best choice. Hired us. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough, drove massive traffic in just a couple of days, had a fantastic offer right at full price on their condo. Now they're able to move forward, purchase the investment property in Minnesota because they put maximum equity in their pocket. And thankfully, they didn't gamble with some agent who just put it in MLS and didn't really do anything else and hustle with it. And that's something we're super, super proud of overall with that. So how much time we got? 1 minute? Less than a minute. Awesome. Okay. That's super helpful in that scenario. One thing we'll talk about, if you're thinking about selling this year, we'll talk about a couple quick things that you can get your house really kind of fixed up. We help our clients do that. We're super simple things like open the blinds, let light in, clean baseboards, power wash. We have a free power wash you can use. We have all kind of stuff that's super simple. But if you're thinking about selling, do it earlier than usual because of this huge news. Interest rates, they dropped down tremendously. The biggest drop in 48 hours. You're going to see a lot of buyers hit the road very, very hard this first week of January. You want to be the ones that are there first because you're going to see a big jump of sellers too, and you don't want to be crowded with other deals in your neighborhood. If you want to know more, reach out, call me. I have a free online tool. You can get a cash offer 24 hours a day at blakesloan.com. We'll see you back here next week.